recently realized that I received a handful of new subscribers from a few of my recent sewing videos that I put out. So I thought now would be a good time to say welcome and tell you all a bit about who I am and what to expect here on my channel. Also, because I know primarily the people watching are from the sewing community or people who are into crafts, I'm going to be talking a bit about how I'm approaching the Make 9 challenge toward the end of this video. So again, if you're new here, welcome. I am Chardonnay. I'm a podcaster, a videographer, and creative entrepreneur. I enjoy talking about the creative process, entrepreneurship, and how to make a living as someone who decided to pursue a career path in the arts. I like to consider my channel a lifestyle channel where I talk more about organizing and the work-life balance and self-care aspect and less of the technical side of what I do, but more of the creative process. My intention with this channel is to showcase the behind the scenes of my creative process, share my thoughts about products and tools I use, and cool projects or experiences I encounter. So those are a bit of my intentions with this channel. Now let's briefly take a recap of last year and my plans for this year. Last year I shared a videography reel to this channel and I talked about what went well and what didn't go so well as a creative entrepreneur. I honestly don't like reels, but it's a thing within my industry. I think reels trim down so much of your work and process that it doesn't really give people a full picture of what someone is capable of doing or what they've been up to. So this year, I want to be sharing a recap reel here on my YouTube channel because last year I worked on sprucing up my website, my portfolio, and branding for my podcast. Basically, I did a little bit of housekeeping. So my video work will live on my website and my separate video YouTube channel because I paid my coin for my website, so I'm going to use it. Speaking of podcasts, I decided my podcast would be something that I do annually, like a once a year type of thing until I have the capacity to do it on a consistent basis. The website will be where I show my work and the podcast will be where I tell you about it and talk through the creative process. I decided to do it this way because I put a lot of work into my videos, but I also have to keep in mind of what actually performs well on each platform. Some things work well in one place, but doesn't do so well in another. So I have to switch things up a bit. So this leads me to what my channel will look like moving forward. What has performed well for me here on YouTube are my lifestyle videos, sewing videos, my camera review videos. So you will be seeing a lot more of that here. However, I still enjoy talking about some aspects such as the gear and tools I use, modifications I'm making on my Jeep, and some of my other creative projects. So you'll be seeing bits of those videos sprinkled throughout, but you will primarily be seeing sewing and clothing videos. So in a nutshell, those are my updates. So if you're into cameras, cars, clothing, and other creative things, then you came to the right place. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an upload and you can stay up to date on all of my latest projects. And the last thing, it's kind of a lengthy thing, but I want to touch on this before I wrap up this video. And I'm basically going to be taking a different approach to the Make 9 challenge. The Make 9 challenge is usually something that's affiliated with the sewing community, but since I do a bit of other things, I'm going to share some of the other creative things I plan to make within this year, in addition to my sewing plans. So let's start with a few of my sewing plans. Some of the things that I plan to make within this year are a jacket, a robe, a lounge set, a casual outfit, and a handbag. You'll notice some of these items I've already started to make, so I am right on track as it relates to my sewing plans. Now for the rest of my Make 9 challenge, these are going to be some of my other creative projects. one of the other projects that I want to do is I want to add a blog to my website so I can write specifics about some of the projects I share that I have kind of showed you all here on YouTube, and also so I can have a backup of most of the content that I create here on YouTube. It'll have a place outside of YouTube where it can live. And I decided to do this because I realized, like, while most things may be visually good to show people, some things may be, good to talk through on a podcast, but then also I noticed that some things are best when you write it all out and you have it in a written format. So that's why I also want to make a blog and work on that within this year. One of the other projects that I have in mind is I want to create an end of year podcast very similar to what I did last year, where I recap some of the interesting folks I work with, talk about a creative project I worked on, or maybe a cool experience that I had. I also want to share this documentary I've been working on with a client for the past couple of years. I mentioned in one of my other videos, or maybe on my podcast, I mentioned this somewhere in these internet streets, that this has been a project that now I'm going to start shopping around and submitting it to film festivals. So I kind of want to walk you all through what that process is like for me on my end as I start to do that. And the last but not least, the thing that I want to create is kind of my own challenge within this challenge called Creative Breaks and Hot Dates. I don't know about you all, but for me, working from home has really taken a toll on me. In some ways good, but in other areas, specifically the area I'm most concerned with is when it comes to getting dressed up. I notice I don't get all dressed up and as cute as I would like to on a daily basis unless I'm going out on a date or to an event or some sort of special occasion or something. And I kind of miss that routine of getting dressed on a day-to-day basis. I'm normally in the house in lounge clothes, and sometimes when I film projects, I'm typically in my Chardonnay Mason Creations uniform or sweatshirt. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? I enjoy being comfortable and in a lounge set, but I just want to amp it up a bit and start getting into making some pieces that are comfortable but are also cute. And I mean cute enough to go run an errand and not look like I'm a hot mess and I just roll straight out of bed or something. You know what I'm saying? When you look good, you feel good. So that saying is so real for me. Like, when you look good, you feel good. So I am trying to amp up the wardrobe, so to speak, this year. Also, to add to that, I got laid off from my main job last year. But what has been my saving grace and the thing that is keeping me in high spirits during this transition is the simple fact that my life did not revolve around my job. Like, I am so grateful and happy that I have a hobby like sewing, and I always maintain a freelance clientele, and my identity wasn't just wrapped up in my job. So it allowed me to gracefully say to myself, you know what? That was the end of that chapter, and I'm just about to ride this wave and get ready for whatever is for me in this next chapter, okay? Like, I've always been the type of creative entrepreneur that appreciates having the routine and the structure that comes with the 9-to-5 and having coworkers, but who knows? Maybe it's time for something different. So whatever is next, I'm ready for it. And in the meantime, I'm excited that I can pick back up some of the projects that I have kind of put on pause. But the main thing I was thinking about is it can be so easy to get caught in a slump and get kind of complacent if you don't actively keep working that muscle of staying inspired. And I know that there are a lot of other folks, creative or not, who can possibly relate to just doing your same old routine and not really getting dressed up as much as you used to because you now work from home, or maybe you're like me, you got laid off, or maybe you're just someone who just hangs out at the same spots, and that can get old real quick. So I was playing around with this idea of what if once a month I committed to getting dressed up and finding a new place to go Whether it's a new restaurant, traveling to a new cafe to work, a new activity, or just going somewhere that will encourage me to take a break from my normal routine and get cute and find some creative inspiration. Initially, I wanted to call it creative breaks and solo dates, but then I was thinking, you know what? When I go on dates, they are not always solo. Sometimes it's with a guy or maybe one of my homegirls or a cousin, so I figured I would call it creative breaks and hot dates, so it will challenge me to do something once a month for myself, which will keep me from getting into a creative rut and remind me to get up, get dressed, get cute so I can stay creative. So, y'all, that's a lot. 5 sewing projects, a blog, a podcast, promoting a documentary, and a challenge within a challenge. Let's see how this goes. So if you stay tuned to the very end of this video, thanks for watching. I appreciate your support, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you all in my next video. Bye.